right, Sports Talk Nation. Welcome back once again. It's your host, the G-Man, as we continue our team-by-team fantasy preview for the 2016 season. Today we're going to talk about the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I'll tell you that there's really nothing here that jumps out at you that makes you say, I have to go get this guy. I do expect Joe Flacco to be back from his injury. I don't think it will affect him long-term. That said, I don't think he's ever been as good of a fantasy performer as he is a real performer. So I would put him in the lower half of number twos. Again, I think you can get by with him on a bye week, but I wouldn't put my eggs in his basket. I'm a bigger Justin Forsett fan than most people. I've liked him his whole career. I remember when he came out of Cal, he was a little guy, but he plays a lot stronger than his size. Bad injury last year. Buck Allen stepped in, did some nice things. They also drafted Kenny Dixon. But I would probably put Forsett in that low end number two category as well. Your lottery ticket would not be Buck Allen. I think Buck Allen would be part of the kind of a handcuff situation. But if you're going to go lottery ticket, I'd go Kenny Dixon. I think he's got a bright future ahead of him, and if nothing else, certainly for a dynasty. From the wide receiver perspective, I do think Steve Smith has value. I think he's a better real-life football player than he is fantasy football player, but I do expect him to be in the low-range 2, high-range 3 wide receiver, a little more in PPR leagues, but not so much because he doesn't monopolize catches like some other number one receivers do. Nothing else would I take a shot at. I'm not a believer in Brashard Perryman. He would be a lottery ticket at best. Kamar Aiken would be a sixth receiver, I guess, if you have to go that deep, but none of these guys... they've not shown the ability that if something happens to Smith, that they're going to step up and be a stud. So I would probably avoid the wide receiver position other than Steve Smith. From a tight end position, Ben Watson had a huge renaissance year. I do think that this offense benefits tight ends. They do have some younger guys as well, but I think they brought in Watson to be the starter, at least for a couple of years. He's probably a high-end number 2. I'd say he's probably in that 65 catches for 700 yards and 6 or 7 touchdowns range. So he has some value, but nothing that I would put too much stock in. And from a defensive perspective, even though I do expect them to be improved defensively, they are not the Ravens that you remember. Don't draft them on name alone. I would leave them to be a waiver wire fodder as far as the team defense goes. So with your 2016 team-by-team preview from a fantasy perspective of the Baltimore Ravens, I'm your host, the G-Man, and I am out.